Well, good morning. Tried to make a video this morning on the computer, but the audio doesn't seem to want to work anymore. So it's just me doing this. And you can't hear anything. What was coming up was this stuff around suffering. And how most suffering, it seems to me, in my experience anyway, comes from the mind wrestling with a question. Usually a big question like, what am I supposed to do? And wrapped into this question revolves around fear. Fear of failing in some way. And there's love and there's fear, and you can't inhabit both spaces at the same time. But we're afraid, right? We're afraid to fail as a student or a teacher, as a son or daughter, or as a parent, as an employee or an employer. And on the biggest scale, we're afraid to fail like at life, at what we wonder is our purpose or our soul's purpose. Even in the spiritual circles where there's talk of ascension and 5D consciousness and evolution of thought and of beingness, we can either be doing that work from a place of play, from love, which has no fear of failure and is just playing and is just doing for the enjoyment of it, for the fun of it. I think that's what I'm here to learn. I think that's what a lot of us are here to learn. To operate, to be from a place of play without the fear of failure, without the fear of failing at some sense of soul purpose. That in fact the soul purpose here for many of us, or maybe just for me, all I can speak for is me really, the soul purpose is to get beyond the fear of failing. We are so conditioned into that fear of failing. We've built it in. It's like a given. In Western society, look at Western religion. Islam, Judaism, and certainly Christianity, it's built in. Like, we failed. So we needed, in Christianity's sake, we need Jesus because we failed. Sin, separation, that whole thing. Not good enough. It's not enough just to be. It must be a certain way. And even in, the other Abrahamic religions, Islam, Judaism, it's the same thing without the Redeemer, but, you got to work really hard to be a certain way. Or there's a sense of failure and separation, which doesn't exist in the realm of love, of pure presence of love. And we know this deep down. When you look at a newborn child, especially if it's your own, there's no way that that little being could fail in your eyes. You're going to love it anyway. So much of our suffering, so much of my suffering, and I've been bouncing this back and forth with a good friend of mine. We're very similar, feeling the same sort of inner torment at times, and I only ever feel that when I'm in fear of failing. When I feel like I don't want to suffer anymore, but I can't end my suffering because that would be a failure. And I've talked about this before in other videos, and sorry for those of you it's going to trigger, but the fastest way out of a place of wanting to end your suffering is to realize you're only suffering because you're afraid. You're afraid of failing. As soon as you get beyond that, you're no longer suffering, and all sorts of other options come to the table. But there is There is no failure from a place of love and of wholeness. You can't possibly fail at life, at your soul's purpose. It's not possible. It's only possible in the human mind and the way the mind works. But this is deep in our cultural, this is deep in our collective, unconscious, it's deep in our cellular memory. And it's part of this ascension process, getting beyond this fear. All fear, but this fear, this deep fear of what am I supposed to be doing and what if I get this wrong? What if I'm not who I'm supposed to be? The only who I'm supposed to be is the one who isn't afraid of who he is. The only one I think many of us, even all of us, are ever supposed to be is the one who isn't afraid of who they are and isn't afraid of what is happening and isn't afraid of any possibility or any timeline or any path that they might choose, success or failure. And from that place of not being afraid, to just then play, choose and play from a place of just, it's all okay. It doesn't render things meaningless, it renders them more meaningful. Have a great day.